Hi, I'm Don Harper, reporting for Costa Mesa Brief. I'm here with Jeff Pettis, who's running for Costa Mesa City Council in the East Side. Welcome, Jeff. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Don.
Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeff.
So I am a 15-year Costa Mesa resident, born and raised in Newport Beach. I'm the Deputy Chief Administrator at the VA for mental health, which covers most of Orange County and some of LA County, and former candidate in 2020 for D6, and we're going to give it another run this time.
So you're running against Jeff Harlan. Jeff Harlan has supported bike lanes, high-density housing, travel lodge, conversion to a homeless center, the cannabis shops. He helped craft the ordinances for the cannabis shop. How do you view that?
Well, watching Jeff Harlan over the last 4 years, I've been watching how he votes with the current council, and I'm pretty much on the other side of every issue that he's been on. And I had to ask myself, why is this guy voting the way he is? And because my view is that a council representative should be representing his constituents in his district, and that's not what I'm seeing out of Jeff Harlan. So what I did to find the answer to that, my own question, was I went back through the documents of all the donations since 2018, and what we found out, we added it all up, $175,000 in donations went to every candidate besides yourself, Don, and they were from the cannabis industry, builders, and the unions. So now it's obvious to me why Jeff Harlan votes the way he does. You can pretty much predict how he's going to vote based on where his campaign contributions came from, and that's not what I'm about. I pledge to take no union money, no developer money, and I want to answer to the constituents. That's why I'm running.
Wow, so you've really observed a really direct reaction to a donation and a voting style.
Yes, it's going out in the community. We've now nearly hit every house and talked to lots of people in the community, and they tell me the same thing. We're tired of homeless, we're tired of crime, and we're worried about high-density housing. And that is something that their representative on council is not voting for on behalf of them. So I'm going to get in there and I'm going to make a difference.
There's 40,000 dwelling units in Costa Mesa. And Jeff Harlan and the majority council voted for a plan to add up to 17,000 dwelling units, largely rental units, which would make us almost 70% rental units in Costa Mesa. It means about 30,000 more people. Does our infrastructure support that? And what's your feeling from your neighbors and friends about that issue?
In terms of supporting those numbers, I think we're already somewhere in the neighborhood of 98% built out in Costa Mesa. And from what I understand on the RENA numbers that we're mandated to build from Sacramento, we have to have a plan to show that we can build those houses. We don't actually have to build them. So my focus now, R1 and R2 in the east side is exempt from the RENA numbers mostly. So we're not worried about new development in the east side, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on rezoning efforts, and that's where I can make a difference.
Let me have you comment on some other issues, things I've seen voted for in council. One is pay increase for actually an additional paid holiday for the employees of the city, which costs about $600,000. And I've seen the city council vote to allow non-residents to plan our city and be on the planning commission. You want to comment on those issues?
I'm shocked that the non-residents on the Planning Commission is even a discussion that we're having right now. The fact that that was voted in is a disgrace. You should be a citizen to be on the Planning Commission in our city. That's just a fact, and that's how I feel about that. In terms of the paid holiday, it's interesting because crime's a huge issue to all the East Side people. They don't want to have their Amazon packages stolen, catalytic converters taken out of their Prius. They don't want to be menaced by the homeless guy. You take that paid holiday that they added is what, about $600,000 annually it's going to cost the taxpayer. That's 3 police officers right there. Go a long way to monitoring our neighborhoods. And I'm also in favor of maybe a public-private partnership of a neighborhood watch idea. They do it in Santa Monica, but that's something I'd like to talk to you more about that later if we could.
What are your neighbors saying about the travel lodge and the Motel 6? They're going to convert to homeless housing. They're going to probably add about 188 beds and at the cost of about $105 million. And it's going to change is it going to change the character of the neighborhood? Do you have concerns about that, and your neighbors express concerns as well?
Huge concerns even before that, the Motel 6 and Travel Lodge thing. Then Old Newport down to Alibaba and beyond is always considered to be kind of a sketchy neighborhood. And I can tell you right now, Project Home Key is how we got the big block grant for the Motel 6. And And I think that this just goes along with the council voting what Sacramento wants to do. They get a big block of money, great, let's take the money. This is the homeless industrial complex. This isn't about homelessness. This is about getting money to the city. And in terms of the Motel 6 idea, there is a provision in the Project Home Key allocation of that money that you cannot require mental health or substance abuse as a condition for these folks to live there. So what we have is a warehousing of homeless and drug addicted folks with no treatment on it. It's going to end up in more vagrancy, more anti-camping, more crime along the way. The residents hate it. Actually, Motel 6 technically falls in District 3, but it bleeds off into District 6. So
right.
I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. It's going to be a big focus. A lot of people think since I'm in mental health, I'm going to be soft on everything. Actually, the other way around. It takes, for people to get better, they have to be, there's nothing wrong with mandating treatment. There's nothing wrong with mandating services if you want services from the city.
Has this scenario that these Travel Lodge and Motel 6 they're converting, has it played out in San Francisco to a greater degree where we've seen the actual result?
No, you can see the more money that's spent in San. It used to be a beautiful city. I remember going there as a kid, and it was, Fisherman's Wharf, nice. Now it's feces on the street, needles in the street, and it's not dignified and it's not moral to assume homelessness is the right thing for somebody. I don't care what anybody says. That's not a moral stance to take. It's moral to get the people off the street, then look at treating. And we're not in the business of, as a city, we should not be responsible for treating these people if they want to be. If they are going to be treated, it's because they're going to be mandated to do so. But the first thing to do is enforce homelessness. We want them off the streets.
Costa Mesa has potentially 32 cannabis shops, including the ones that are up and running, that could be approved and could be up and running in Costa Mesa. What are you hearing from your neighbors? What impact has that had on the east side? Do you have any concerns about it?
It's a big deal to most people. It's an interesting crosses all lines. Some people for, some people against. For the most part, people think there's too many, oversaturation. Right now, Measure Q is voted in. Okay, so the people voted in, is here to stay. I'm a little bit, I'd like to say regulate, but part of me, the liberty-minded, kind of conservative viewpoint is maybe less regulation, let the free market weed these folks out, because the current right now black market is strong as the private
I think they
sector.
will be weeded out. You as a mental health expert, have you thought about the impact or read anything on the impact on our youth? In other words, marijuana in our community, what's the impact and what's the dangers to our youth?
Marijuana is not the marijuana of 20 years ago. Part of my job is one small part is managing the inpatient psych unit at the VA. And we've seen people come in with psychotic features. We've seen people come in with paranoia, not to the level of a normal marijuana use, but to the level where they needed to be held against their will because of the concentrations of the marijuana now is, I read a study recently, is 10 times on average more than it was even 20 years ago.
So does marijuana lead, is it a gateway drug? Does it lead to addiction? Does it lead to other issues? Does it lead to mental health problems?
I think it's definitely a precursor to a lot of the thought disorder and mental disorders now that the concentrations are what they are. I think the gateway term, I stay away from it because it's got a kind of a negative connotation back to the days of Nancy Reagan. But I do think that if you're going to engage in marijuana, the likelihood of engaging in harder drugs is higher.
So do you have a family, you have daughters. Is the revenue generated by cannabis worth the potential risk to our community and our youth?
Absolutely not. I think they quoted 3% was the big selling point for Mayor Stevens and the council when they first brought in Measure Q. I know that Mayor Stevens and Jeff Harlan have I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they have a large amount of campaign contributions coming from that sector. So I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze on the cannabis thing, but it's here. We got to keep an eye on it and make sure that our kids are safe.
Jeff, is there any other topic you want to discuss while I've got you here?
No, I would just like to say that I am running not because I want to be a county supervisor, not because I want to run for state office. I'm running because it's the right thing to do, and the community deserves quality leadership. After my 8 years, I'm going to go back home, go back to the VA, and hopefully bring in somebody behind me that holds the same values I have. East Side's worth it, and so is Costa Mesa.
Jeff, thanks for running. Thanks for your service at the VA. And I'm Don Harper with Costa Mesa Breathe. Thank you.